You know why we're here. I wish we didn't have to do this episode today, but there's a lot of stuff going on. You can tell I'm not in my usual studio. I'm on the road. I didn't expect this. Today when I woke up, you read these reports from Di Marzio, Arab offers coming in for Paulo Dybala, and it's concerning. I want to bring you through. There's a lot of disinformation going on right now. I want to bring you through the updates as we have them here. Okay, so during the night, there was apparently an agreement, they said, reached between Dybala and the club, Al-Qadsiah from Saudi Arabia, and that they're still working to get that done. What's this? About an hour and 10 minutes later, Sky Sport, a reliable source, reports that the meeting between the parties ended and they're going to meet in the next few days as Dybala is going to take his own time to think about things. Then 2:10 p.m., so about, what was that, a minute later, the meeting between, this is also being echoed by another source from Sport Italia, who's getting their information from Sky Italia, saying that the offer to Roma was about 15 million euros, but there's no decision, as still because Dybala wants to think about it. Then Fabrizio Romano jumps in, reporting the same thing. Sometimes you'll see this from Romano. I think everybody waits for his approval, but oftentimes he's just an echo chamber from Sky Sport or another reliable source, such as Biafora or is it with the S? I forget his name off the top of my head, but I follow him on Twitter. So also discussing contractual negotiations. Sometime after that, around 4:30 today, that would have been about 10:30 New York time, Dybala has rejected the first offer from this club, from Al-Qadsiah, and they're going to come again in soon time with another offer for him. Then at about 6 o'clock, 12 o'clock New York time, it says Roma met with emissaries from Al-Qadsiah, organized a summit with his agent, who now has gone back to Spain. The Argentinian still wants to stay with the Giallorossi, but there could be something that is reflected with how Roma perceive him. Is he still seen as an unequivocal starter? Is his starting spot somewhat up for grabs? Consider that him and Sule could be relative players, and I don't think that's really too much of a problem, because I think of the days of Totti and Cassano and the way that those two played together. Although they had similar profiles, they did ultimately find a way, and they were very good with one another. We think of the best days in the past 25 years, 30 years of Roma, and we see two players who are very similar getting on with each other. I was really looking forward to seeing the both of them, and I still hope that we can. But still, that Dybala wants to stay at Roma. I do think, though, if he's having these negotiations in the first place, there could be a secret number, perhaps, that he's holding out for. A few hours ago now, it says Dybala trained regularly with the group today, had 3 stories on Instagram with 3 shots from the session. Nothing unusual, but then things, of course, can have hidden meanings, and I'll get to my take on that. And that is the last update that we have so far, which is, let me share this screen, this picture that we have instead from Dybala's Instagram, yes, of him training. This doesn't mean anything. Even a few days before Sule transferred to Roma, he had pictures of him playing for Juventus, so you don't want to read too much into these things. Ultimately, I'm left afraid. I'm left thinking of what this could mean for Roma going into the transfer market so soon, having to cover him. It's not just the coverage, though. It's what Dybala means to Roma. This is a player who brings people into the stadium, a player that almost each and every single one of us love. He has gotten almost to the Europa League. He got to the Europa League final, but almost just minutes away from grabbing the gold for them off the back of winning the Conference League last season. He had a lot of injuries, but even so, he almost took out, not just him alone, but the team almost took out Leverkusen, who were undefeated that entire season until the final, where they got absolutely smacked by Atalanta. More so on a personal level, I love Dybala. He's been one of my favorite players to watch, if not my most favorite, since he was at Palermo. I've always enjoyed his take on the game, how he's able to come up with moments of brilliance like a magician, and parts of the game he's done things that no other players have. even having trouble words with this episode today. Because it is truly a shock. I didn't see this coming. All summer long, we're looking forward to seeing him with Dovbyk and Sule out on the left. It didn't even matter so much. You could have just gotten Zalewski in there. And because of the brilliance of this top three, they were going to make other players shine as well. With Paredes back there, it seemed like he, Dybala, and Sule would have had this excellent relationship, this dynamic between the three, this Argentine component to Roma. That's something I was also really looking forward to. Do I think Dybala stays? I think when these types of offers come around, the player is open to it. You don't have negotiations with a player if he's not at least interested in hearing what's going to be offered. Yes, Dybala might want to stay at Roma, but you know what? When you get offered 20, 30 million euros, something which could max your salary by 5 or by 6, keep going, right? These mega offers, they're perceived as once-in-a-lifetime opportunities, which make it really difficult for the player to say no. And I get it from his perspective. Look, Dybala just got married. He's probably going to have a family soon. I get it. And Roma, look, are not in Champions League football. They're not there. They're not going to win. Of course, you can go on and win the Scudetto, which I think with Dybala, Roma very well could this season. But they're not going to be fighting for Europe's most prestigious trophy. And if they're not going to be doing that, maybe Dybala says, I take 1 year here, and then I assess my options. I get 1 year worth of playing, which could have been 5 years on my existing salary. I get it from that perspective. So ultimately, the club's view on this must be, hey, look, we have a player who in the past 2 seasons has played 65, 70% of the time max. That's all he can give us. Yet we're paying him like this player who should be in every single game and at the center of Roma's play. Unfortunately, the fact of the matter is his injury history does not allow him to do that. Do injuries get better, and nagging injuries and lingering long-term issues the more you age? Of course not. Dybala's on that 30-year mark where, unfortunately, the truth is that he's going to continue to pick these up. His knees, his ligaments, those things just simply don't get better. There's too many games in the modern era that players are not given a fair chance to recover. He's been excluded from the international team, so at this point, he's probably thinking, look, Argentina's moving on without me. I don't have Champions League football. I have a chance to go and maximize my salary, at least for a few years, and I've got to take it. So I definitely understand the player's point of view, and I understand Roma's point of view. So for me, it's not so outlandish to think, yes, the season kicks off, what's today, Wednesday? In 5 days, Roma will be playing a full-fledged Serie A match, the first on the calendar. But they're looking at it, they got Sule, they have a center forward. There's also Tommaso Baldanzi. De Rossi has been tinkering around with his position. He's including him more centrally, in fact, perhaps even in a bit of a deeper role, not as a true trequartista, but as more of a number 8. I don't think Baldanzi really has the legs to be, when you say a number 8, those are usually very athletic players, box to box, if you will. I don't think that he's going to be the prototypical type of number 8, but perhaps De Rossi finds a way to make it work for him there. So that becomes, when you have a full starting lineup, a full roster, where does Dybala fit in? And do Sule and him, are they compatible on the same starting lineup with everybody available? And I don't think they are, because you're not going to play Sule on the left. And after you've invested heavily in him, it doesn't make sense to have him on the bench either. 21 years old, has nothing but good fortunes ahead of him. So this is a player that you need to have in all the time. Dybala, though, because he can't be in every single match, then you start to feel how a team can move on without him. Of course, I'm going to have more updates and more episodes as time goes along. We'll be doing a transfer recap at the end of August once the window closes. We'll be doing a Cagliari preview here as well. There's still other things going on. Shomurodov could be heading to Major League Soccer, to Atlanta, not Atalanta, but Atlanta in Georgia. So there's other things going on. There's other players who have been linked. Asignon, a right back, who is pretty appealing, in my opinion. Also, Jeremy Boga, who's been out at Nice and also played for Atalanta, where he got that move, that big money move, out to France. What he's been up to. Could he be the left wing that Roma have been searching for? Federico Chiesa, I don't think he ultimately joins Roma at the end of the window. Those whispers have more or less died down. Maybe he goes to Inter, maybe he goes to Milan. I'm not sure with him, but Roma seems further away. Goodmanson, maybe to Fiorentina. Gonzalez would be a very interesting player to substitute Dybala, but as his move to Juventus looks closer and closer, that door seems to be closing quicker and quicker. But that would be a good substitute for me over Jeremy Boga. But Boga is very fast. He's technical as well. We'll see what happens there. We'll see what happens on the Dybala front. Keep your eyes peeled on my Twitter for the latest updates too. And we'll be in touch soon. Developing story. Ciao.